questions. If you have anything like what exactly you need in your contracts, what you possibly look at veto rights, you want to sort of safeguard something against some draconian provision, a housing.com kind of a situation, you don't want some, like sexual harassment case. There's so many other things, like, you have sort of seen innovation in the VC and PE guys. So yeah, we are trying to sort of find women directors across who are eligible, and that's becoming a challenge. Like, and I think some, because independent directors also is,
independent director qualify as the same?
both of them, yes. Yeah, you can have one. That's not an issue. But again, like, I think the problem is with the amount of liability which is attached to directors, although like the company law sort of insulates you. I don't know, like somebody asked me, like, can you suggest somebody in Chennai for as an independent director, and the company is willing to pay 20,000 rupees as sitting fees. So I said, you'll have effectively 4 meetings, and for that, like that old man who is an ex-PwC director, he possibly, like, I don't know what he's going to see in his life cycle left, of the company's defaults, and for him to sort of look at these things, and for that 80,000 may not really be worth it. Like, it's an issue. I don't know how to tackle that, but yes, we ask the same questions.
Is there a penalty on that? Not having, is there any number of years before which?
I think it's 3 years or something now.
So what is the way, how to invest in a company, how to incorporate an Indian company?
Which sector is this?
Technology.
No automatic, no problems.
The appointment was not made.
Nothing, wrong advice.
Any money from outside is welcome these days. No?
See, like when I started my career as a lawyer in Bombay, like the senior partner, who was this Gujarati gentleman, he basically taught me law, and what was foreign exchange laws, which the Gujarati lawyers out there in Bombay knew. Money can come in, but it can't go out. Like, that was the fundamental thing. Like anything outside of this particular principle is effectively not possible. I think that's what it was, and it continues to this day. And I think that's where it is. Happy to receive any money, so long as it's not tainted, so long as it's not blood diamond, I guess it's fine. And like, you will be surprised, because like we see investments by so many people in jewelry industries today. Like, you have Joy Lucas, you have Kalyan, and you saw Bob Peters and all these guys. You have the Kimberley Convention, so which is this blood diamond. So you actually need representation that your diamonds are actually something which is sourced in accordance with the Kimberley Convention, and there is no labor which is sort of exploited and stuff like that. Nobody would possibly know this in India. And I didn't know this until the US consul on the job, who we always thought they were like, generally absolute, like they're possibly charging a bomb for not doing anything. And this is a brilliant value add, but for a US company, for a venture capital fund or a private equity hedge fund, any of those guys sitting outside with investors from US makes a huge amount of difference. Entry routes, automatic, government. So equity, compulsory convertible preference shares, all of those CCDs. So basically, same principle, money can come in, it can't go out. If you want to send it out, then it's really difficult. You can, but possibly the conditionalities are much more stringent than what you can possibly come in. Any other questions? So these are the issues which we have. But of course, what possibly happens here is what we see. In addition to the various governmental issues, Achhe Din Kab Aayenge and all of those things, what we see is I think the venture capital guys sort of have their own conditionalities attached. They can be pension funds, they can be just about various kinds of issues which they have, and they sort of try to bulldoze you. It's your company at the end of the day. You need to sort of ensure that you put your foot down where it matters.
Your experience, what validity is the non-compete clause? How much of validity has the non-compete clause?
Section 27, Indian Contract Act 1872. So basically, what they say is that if it is pursuant to transfer of goodwill, then a non-compete clause is valid for a reasonable period, for a reasonable, with a specific geography defined. And what is reasonable is again, it depends on the business. If that business was not worth 1 lakh and you make that guy like sign a non-compete for 20 years, it's really not reasonable. The point is, usually courts in India, unless there is a complete transfer of goodwill, they would not recognize that. One question which I am always asked by all my IT, like my classmates from school who went to engineering, they say like, listen, I have this strange non-compete clause. Right now, I'm prevented from joining the other board. What do I do? So I say like post-employment non-compete is void. So it's only if you are owning a business and you sell it with the goodwill, which means entire shares, all the shares of the business, then you possibly are bound by certain amount of non-compete within certain parameters.
So if it's an employee, there is no such.
Employee just party.
So, and how important it is to go and file an IP in India if you're launching a very innovative product? Because the challenge you practically see is that
The 20-year rule.
Correct. Number one, and number two, the IP is actually not safe, especially in Indian context. So, as an entrepreneur, you always have a challenge that IP looks very attractive to VC, blah blah and blah blah, but there are practical challenges. So, what is the ground level advice? Should we go out, build a market, build a distribution network, create an entry barrier, or go and file the IP first?
So I'll answer that. We have actually seen that in a particular issue. So basically, most companies, when they have innovative IP, what they do is they look at what is the geography. Like, are you looking to cater to Indian markets, or looking at overseas markets? So filing in a European patent office or the US patent office or the Indian patent office here, like, it's a question which people tear their hair, trust me on this, because the moment you go and file it there, it is in public domain. You can possibly, any person with half a brain can possibly re-engineer that particular process, and they'll find a particular way to sort of, break it. So it's really a call which you possibly will have to take depending on how much of market penetration you have other places, and if that particular thing is innovation. So I guess it comes down to whether it is so innovative that nobody else can sort of do anything. But I think one thing which we possibly see, because IP specifically is very regionalistic, it is not necessary, that's one of the larger issues of patents. So, you have to necessarily file it in India, you have to file it in US, you have to file it in Europe, you'll have to generally spread it across. So if you have something which is unique, then I suggest that, do start from the ground here. Unless, of course, it can change and vary depending on business cases, but yes, that's one of the things which we see. Sometimes you do not file it for strategic reasons because you don't want it to be in public domain. You don't just want it. And there is a very, I'll tell you, ITC Foods, they basically bought this particular company. I was a flunk then, a complete flunk. I used to hold the pen of my senior. So, and this particular company was, it was basically food designed for defense personnel. So all you needed to do was pour hot water, and you actually had biryani, like what you're having with MTR and all of those kind of things. Pardon me? Something very similar, but these guys could actually give you a 10-course meal, like proper meal, like 10-course meal. Just put hot water. You don't even have to heat it, and out comes this particular technology. So that guy, everyone asked him in ITC Foods, they were wooing him and all of this. And this young short man, he said how do you do this? He said listen, I'm not going to tell you because it is just one technique which I found by accident myself. It was not that I did some R&D. One day I just left something boiling in this particular factory of mine, and one of these workers, they forgot to sort of switch switch, and this was the discovery. So he said I don't know whether I need to patent this or will this remain my trade secret. So then everything was done, MOU signed, monies exchanged, and then he said, okay, your scientific team, R&D guys, come over, I'll show you. And he just put that one button, which sort of, dry heat process or some whatever reverse thing, and they all took their heads in shame, and they said we paid 100 crores for this, and that's exactly what they did. But that's the value of a business, and that's the value of an idea. Okay?
I'm Vasundhar. I head operations for Acceleron Software India. We came across a problem. We are providing solutions. Our headquarters is based in US. And how do I safeguard myself against being another Uber?
So,
Like
thank you.
sending money back is my problem.
Sending money back is, so Uber is a client of ours, so I can sort of tell you. What problem do you have? Is it a payment settlement issue? Is it that, so technically we went to the Reserve Bank of India and we actually got a specific approval today for Uber, which is outside of the Payment and Settlement Act per se. You had to make a case, obviously, we meet the necessary people. You had to meet Ms. Carr out there. We had to set up meetings with the Deputy Governor's office and everything else. It was a fair amount of intense, I would say, liaising with RBI. And thankfully, that one body which I told you, like which stands out there, they are truly independent. And RBI is one, I have lots of faith in RBI. Some amount of faith is eroded in the judicial system, a lot of it is eroded in the legal system, but still a lot of faith with the Reserve Bank of India. So they are very, very proactive, they are very receptive to ideas. So if you possibly make a case where if you are stuck with this Uber kind of a payment model, because your money is actually sort of going out and coming, but that's not effective. Yeah, it's going out. So there could be other issues with permanent establishment and other things. So you possibly need to speak to the RBI, make a case for it. Thank you.